In today's episode, we're taking it all back to where it all began, to the hardwood, the lessons, and the coach who shaped not only athletes, but character. So buckle up and let's go. Welcome to Rooted and Rising. I'm your host, Tara Michelle, intuitive guide, storyteller, and fellow traveler on this wild path of becoming. This is a space for the soul-led, for the ones unraveling old stories, tending to their healing, and rising, not perfectly, but powerfully, into who they are here to be. Here we explore what it means to live with intention, to love with depth, and to trust that even the hard things are shaping us. I'll share pieces of my own journey, the cracks, the beauty, the breakthroughs, and invite voices who are walking this path too. Because I believe life isn't happening to us, it's happening for us. So come as you are, root in and rise up. And thank you, truly thank you for being here. Welcome back, everybody, to Rooted and Rising. I'm really excited to be with all of you today. And I am honored because I am sharing a very special person from my past, Coach Pete Vaz, who was one of the basketball coaches at the high school that I went to, Mission San Jose High School. And Coach Pete Vaz has actually been the pillar of Bay Area high school basketball for nearly 4 decades. As the winningest coach at Mission San Jose High School, 4 NCS appearances, a 1996 MVAL championship, and even helped shape somebody who you may know who was a Golden State Warrior, Juan Toscano Anderson, during his years at Castro Valley. So beyond the stats and banners, Coach Vaz has built something deeper, a culture of integrity, discipline, and heart. He's a teacher, a mentor, and in 2019 was named Teacher of the Year. And still, he serves as the department chair and AP test coordinator at Mission San Jose High School. So today I get to sit down with an old high school coach, which I'm very excited to share with you. Someone who taught so many of us that success isn't just about the scoreboard. It's actually more about showing up, giving your best, and lifting others along the way. So let's take a pause, reflect, and honor a man who's dedicated his life to shaping champions on and off the court, Coach Pete Vaz. Okay, so welcome to the show. I'm so honored to have you here, and I'm so blown away. Like, I'm actually glad that you found me. It's like, oh my God, he found me on Facebook. And when I was, when I was going over your bio and all the background, I was like, holy hell, like all the things that you've done and achieved is just amazing. And you've been at Mission for, wait, 4 decades.
It's probably longer than you've been alive. Yeah.
No, not longer than I've been alive. Come on. We're not that far in age.
I, I know it's scary. Well,
You were a young buck when I was there. You were
I
just getting
know.
going.
I know it's kind of weird. I started out, I could have been, students' older brothers, and now I could be their
Right.
grand, and now I'm their grandpa. So I was never going to stay at Mission very long, but I'm a slow learner.
You're a slow learner. So tell me, I'm excited to have you on the show. Partially, for those that are listening to the show, on episode 13, 14, and 15, I talk about playing on the court of life because how I've always seen life is it's like a basketball game. And you're either in the game or you're watching from the sidelines. And I talk about this metaphor a lot because I'm somebody who I just keep playing no matter how bloody my nose is, how skinned up my knees are. I just keep getting back out there and keep playing and keep shooting and keep trying, right? And so as I was putting all this together last night, thinking about really what you've accomplished and what you've done over the years is just that. Because to me, basketball is very much like this metaphor for life, metaphor for leadership, metaphor for like doing your best. And so I guess where I'd love to start is, what had you even be remotely interested in wanting to become a coach, like a coach? Like, what was your inspiration for that?
Well,
And
and
tell
thanks
us
for
a little
having
bit,
me.
I guess, tell us a little bit about you. Like, yeah. Coach
Um,
Pete Vaz, who are you?
I'm whoever you want me to be. Boy, we can go way back. I mean, I'm actually one of 6 kids. My mother went to Stanford University. My father went to University of California, Berkeley. They were
Wow.
both teachers. So
you're like a super Bay Area native.
yeah, it's like it's kind of like and then I have two kids and a lovely wife, and my daughter went into teaching. She's the best teacher in the family, but I was looking at it kind of like the family business. It's instead of keeping the grocery store going and, through generations, it's a teaching business. So
Yeah.
I knew I wanted to coach when I was in eighth or ninth grade. I had a
Wow.
really good high school coach and just found a connection with sports and the game of basketball and wanted to use that as a way to get through life. And everything I do in my life, I compare it to sports also. I don't understand how the real world works, but I understand how the sports world works. And that's always been good for me. I wasn't going to stay at Mission very long. I wanted when the business started, it was, if you wanted to be a college coach, you got a high school varsity job, and then you did a really good job there, and then you maybe got a JC job, and then you'd move on to college, and then kind of the rules changed along the way
Hmm.
for that path, and so I've been in high school ever since, and it's been great, and yeah, it's been a long haul, but
Yeah.
it's been very rewarding for me.
So you said you had this attachment to sports. Like, what about the sports? Like, how did you know in the eighth grade that you're like, I'm gonna be a sports coach? Like,
Well,
where does that come from?
I think all of us want to be part of something greater than ourselves, and we may or
Hmm.
may not understand that and realize that. And I just love the whole like being on a team and the connection with your teammates and building to work for something and the whole like you get knocked down and what's your reaction to that,
Hmm.
and the whole lead follow or get out of the way thing, falls into place.
Hmm.
So for me, it wasn't like I was on these great teams that went really really far. That's all changed too, but it's just more like to this day the people that were my teammates from elementary school to high school, we still have that connection, and that's kind of what I wanted to pass along. And then I found out when COVID hit that I loved competition. And
Mm.
when the world shut down from COVID, I ended up watching like game shows just so I could get that competition bug,
Oh, wow.
fed. And so that's kind of where we are now. And I know the
Wow.
world has changed, but I've
It
enjoyed it.
has. It has. So, and who are some of your mentors?
My two high school coaches, Oscar Sakamoto, who's actually kids, went to high school with you, and
Oh, Glenn.
yeah, yeah, I played for him, and then I ended up coaching two of his kids.
Oh my God. And where did you go to high school?
I went to Castro Valley High.
Castro Valley High. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
I
Yep.
know.
That's
And then the
crazy.
football coach was actually he lived next door to my aunt and uncle,
Hmm.
but we just kind of connected, and so I had two coaching mentors, in my life. My parents didn't really like sports a lot, and my
Hmm.
brothers and sisters, I mean, they kind of do, but I went all in. We're all very different, but that's the path that I followed.
That you took. So there you are. You're at Mission. I don't know what year was it? When did you get there? 1986?
85, 86 was the
85, 86. So
was
yeah,
the first team I coached.
I was just coming in as a freshman in 84. So I guess I was a sophomore then. That's so wild. That's
Yeah,
so wild. And it's funny. I don't know why Mike Galasso just popped in my mind, but I remember him being on your team, and I actually just
I
saw him
remember
recently.
too.
Yeah. I'll have to tell him. I'll have to share this episode. Be like, hey, dude, I mentioned you in this episode, but I didn't remember him on your team, and I remember doing stats for the team because I was the cheerleader, but my freshman year I did stats and would run around with the JV teams and the varsity teams and doing all
Yeah.
that. But I mean,
But
so
that's the whole point. See how you just all those memories pop back
yeah.
in, I'll just say a long time ago.
Yeah,
And
right.
that's kind of like the magic though. If you have a good team or a good experience and it just you remember those things and it's amazing.
It is amazing. And so, looking back, and I wrote some questions down here. Looking back at those years, looking at those teams, and what would you say were some of the toughest moments, in really mentoring and coaching? Because I guess what I'm trying to ask is, what am I trying to ask? You know, you talk about you had this track of, hey, I'm gonna start off in high school, then I'm gonna go to JV, then college, and then I'll work my way up. But what is it that kept you where you were or where you are? Because here's the other thing, you've been so incredibly successful with, working with Juan Toscano. What is his name? I don't even know his name.
Franciscano Anderson, yeah.
Yeah, winning awards, taking teams to the championship places. Like, what shifted for you that had you stay? And was it well, I'm just going to settle and do this? Or was there an actual spark and a shift that something was happening that you were actually seeing for yourself and creating and building within all these young people?
Well, there was a lot more security at the high school level too. I mean, it's
Okay,
that's kind of
interesting.
changed now, but to make that to be on that road, you would have to job jump every 1 to 3 years, and you had to
Mm,
keep progressing. And it started out like it's how you accomplish things, and then it became who you know. And
mm,
so,
which I feel
you
like
know,
that hasn't changed much at all.
well, not at all. And the thing is that a lot of guys that get a job in the college basketball world and definitely in the NBA, they've never coached a game. They
Mm-hmm.
it's who they've known and what system they ran and all that. And it's
Mm-hmm.
also flipped. The college basketball used to be very college coach dominated and coach
Mm-hmm.
oriented. Now it's just flipped. It's very much player oriented and the NIL and all this stuff that I don't want to say given the power to the players, but the pendulum swung in their direction. It should have
Right.
always been a collective, and
Mm-hmm.
some people run things that way,
Mm-hmm.
but it's now there's not a lot of loyalty. It's kind of like, well, I'm in it for the money and I could set my future. But I enjoyed being at Mission. I was an off-campus coach for the first 3 years. I taught at Oliver Elementary and then American High School. So
That's
that
so
was
funny.
that was the challenge was getting,
Mm-hmm.
you know, doing two jobs at
At
once.
once. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it was fun.
Yeah. And so when you're sitting there, I guess, I want to apply this because I feel like it is such a great metaphor for life. So you're watching these kids and you're seeing them play as a coach and as a leader and a winning coach. Like, what runs through your mind as you're watching these players individually, but as well as a team? Like, how do you shape them?
Well,
What do you
that's a
see?
that's a great question. It's my duty to, get the most out of them. Get them to see they get them to see what I see in them, and
Mm-hmm.
that's the hardest challenge.
Mm-hmm.
I always kind of looked at it like practice was my time, but games were their time. That's
Mm-hmm.
why you kind of step back and I actually changed the way that I did things in the early 90s. I had a really good team and I had long talks with a college coach that has since left us, but he was a huge influence. His thing was player oriented, teamwork. Everybody's in it together. You
Mm-hmm.
would have to do this number of the day, where if you made 22 shots in a row, then you move on to the next drill, and if you didn't, you started back at zero. And so
Mm-hmm.
and then I would just stay at the side and just hold them to that standard. And the players had to be the ones that came together and actually accomplished it, so they can get that belief in themselves. And that's really tricky because not everybody can do that. And I don't think I could have done that in the beginning. But after, 4 or 5 years into it, that I would never go back the other way. It's all about the players. It's not about, the head coach and what he's doing or you're doing it for me. And why would I want somebody to run through a wall for me? That's just dumb. There's so
Right.
many there's so many
Right.
cliches from the old days and stuff that, kind of make it silly. But, my thing was to max out the players and have them help create that bond with their teammates.
So here's a question I have because I watched this. My son likes to play basketball, and he was at a particular school last year. Excuse me, last year, and this was something that really, I don't know. Okay, so before I throw in my opinions and my judgments, I want to ask you because it really bothered me. When you have a team of players, and in that team there might be five really good ones, and the other 11, hmm, hmm, is it
I can't wait.
no, just like spit it out, Tara. Is is playing those five the entire time the way to create a strength and winning team?
Well, are you talking about an NBA team? So, if so, then yes. But I'm thinking you're not talking about an NBA
Not when
team.
you're in middle school.
Exactly.
I guess
So,
what, yeah, what I would love to hear your thoughts. So they're middle school. We're not going to college yet. There's kids that never have an opportunity to actually play. And then what they would do is play them in the last 2 minutes and take the best players off the field or off the court. What very much frustrated me about that is that's not how you build a winning team in my eyes, because now those that can't play very well are floundering because they don't have a leader on the court and they're not getting to really learn how to navigate or play with that. Like it's not balanced, right?
yeah.
And then they never get better. And then they burn the hot players out. By the time it's the end of the game, they're wiped out because they've used them the entire game. So I actually went to the coaches to ask them, like, you know, can I ask you a question? And is this like the best way to build a team? And of course, they gave me some ridiculous answer. And I just chalked it up to they're green coaches, they're young. Tara, just keep moving. But I would love to hear your thoughts on that because I know that there are different philosophies in coaching. And I really struggled because I don't see that as making a winning team or a winning individual, because what it tells the individual is I'll play you at the end and I'm not going to ever give you the opportunity to learn how to be better when there's potential in each of those kids. But
Yeah.
if you're not balanced, so that's all my opinion, but I would love to hear your thoughts because I feel that that's just such a huge metaphor for life and you're conditioning and programming something that you really could be doing better. So I'd
Well,
love your
I
thoughts
mean,
on that.
it's actually really tricky, and hopefully, I don't lose you along the way here. But
No, never.
a lot of it, a lot of it just depends on what level you're talking about. So, like I said, I was a varsity coach at age 25, and I coached varsity basketball. Either as a head coach or assistant for 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
One of the years I remember the most was taking over my daughter's elementary school team. Okay.
Yeah.
And yeah, starting in third grade, fourth grade, whatever it was. And that was unreal. That everybody should have to do that
Right?
because well, it reminded me of how tough the game actually is. Basketball is actually really a complicated game. No offense to soccer, but soccer's like run, see ball, kick ball. If it comes to you, just kick it. Basketball, you got to run up and down, your offense, defense, you're passing, you're dribbling, you're shooting, you're doing all these different things. And so when I went and coached my daughter's team, it drove me crazy. They were more interested in picture day. They were way more prepared and, the hair and all this stuff. And I'm thinking, well, we just lost this game last night. And, why doesn't it bother anybody? So and it's like, oh, wait a minute, it's not as important to everybody as it is to you. And so that's where you
Right.
have to step back and where it's tricky. The other thing is, and I did a Zoom with one of my ex high school teammates the other day. He's at University of Arizona now, and he trains athletes. And he was a
Mm.
three sport star literally in high school and played a little bit in college, et cetera. And his thing was, you get all these injuries now because kids just play one sport.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, and so the problem is like if a kid is all into basketball, he's got more time invested into it than maybe other kids do. And so
Right.
he's probably going to be better. Well, we used to do, in the fall you'd play football, in the winter you'd play basketball, in the spring you'd play baseball. In
Right.
summer you would do them all. And
Yes,
then
yes.
I hate to say it, but money got in and egos, and it was, well, let me create a league and make a living. And, it kind of got phonied up a little bit. It wasn't, it's not kid oriented. It's adult oriented. It's
It's money. It's a
I
business. It's a
yeah,
business. It's not
I
about growing people.
exactly.
That's
So the
interesting.
thing is though, like what so these kids get discouraged because there was no coach telling me to go out and play. I played because I loved it.
Hmm.
And so that's kind of gone away. I don't think the current generation really thinks for themselves a lot,
Hmm.
and a
Hmm.
lot of that is the era that we're in. It's
Right.
not right or wrong, it's just what it
Just
is.
what's happening. Yes.
Well, like if I wanted to change the TV channel, I had to get up and turn the knob to one of the four stations that were there.
Yep. Or
If
push
I
the
was
button
going,
on the box.
yeah, I don't have to just keep flipping it. I mean, and if I had to get directions to somebody's house, I'd have to call them. Maybe their parents would answer. I'd have to learn
Do
how to
you
be
remember we
polite.
had to have a map? Do you remember the big map that we
I
carried in
love the
our
Thomas
cars?
maps. Yeah,
Yes.
I
Like,
love those
oh my
things.
God, like you did not live without your map.
No, you got to have a map. And so now they don't have to think and generate things for themselves. So a lot of times young people just do what they're told and they don't know the why or they don't ask the why. And so it's all about what the coach's philosophy is. Well, the coaches don't, the only thing anybody knows anymore is did you win or lose? Did you make money or not? It's
Yes.
not, I'm developing this player. Like
Yes.
Little League and baseball and stuff, some leagues have a thing where every kid has to play every position. Not necessarily in the
Mm,
same game, but
right. At
within the
some point.
year, whatever. Yeah. And there's some value in that. It's like, well, I learned I'm not a catcher. I don't like this bat swinging in my face and,
Right.
whatever. So it just depends on ultimately what the person in charge wants. And the
Mm,
only thing most coaches want now that everybody understands is wins
the
and
win.
losses.
Yeah, and I think that's what hurt my heart because I think as a parent, and my son's on that team and he played a fair amount, not a huge amount. Um, It just, to me, sport, I take this back to my mission days and Fremont football days. To me, sport is about building leadership. It's about building character. It's about building who you are at your core. And winning is a byproduct of that, right? Winning to me, like I mean, everybody hated me as the head cheer or the head song girl because I was so like neurotic at practice. Like your arms have to be at this spot millisecond or millimeter move down or like and it had to hit the beat at the time and it was about winning, but there was also a conditioning and a character building that we were all doing inside of that because you could take those ways of practice and actually apply them to your life. And so I look at it that way is that here you have all this potential and you're not really molding it and you're not nurturing it. You're just saying, we'll hold off on you, but we're going to work these guys over here because we're all about the win. Now, I think that that's important as you get maybe a varsity year because at this point now it's like you're looking at who's going off to college, you're looking at building these players. I mean, I don't know, this is just my personal opinion, but you're moving these guys off to college games and college ball and scholarships. But in eighth grade, that's where you're developing them. Like you're developing people at that point so that hopefully if they get to varsity, it's no more about, it's a different level of development. I mean, is that what, so that's just,
Well,
this is a mom brain thinking, but
but a lot of it also is what's your attitude about it. And the
mm,
problem is like I had to raise my parents. You know what I mean? I had
hmm.
to let them,
Well, I
hey,
don't know. So say more about that. I don't know what
well,
you mean.
no, it's like it's okay that I didn't play mom and dad. A lot of times I think kids feel bad that they let their parents down. Well, the
Mm,
parents don't need to make it a reflection of themselves. Your
hmm.
value as a parent isn't determined if your kid made a free throw or not.
Right.
It'd be nice,
Right.
but that's just not the way it is. But that's that ego thing again. And so
Hmm.
it's really hard to step back and you have to just be supportive to your kids and stuff. But
Yeah.
kids don't know how to do that sometimes,
Right.
and
They
they
don't know how to
don't
advocate for themselves.
yes, and
Hmm.
they don't know how to talk to adults either.
Yeah.
So, my question for you would be, well, did your son ever talk to the coach, or were you the one talking to the coach? Did your
I always
son?
make him go. I always make him go because I never wanted to be that mom of like, oh, look at her, stepping up for her kid all the time. I'd always ask him, like, so here's a funny story. I can't remember if I told you the story, but so he was going to a Christian school where uniforms and the whole 9 yards. And on April Fool's Day, I was on a business trip and he text messages me and says, "Hey, mom, I'm going to go to school as Kendrick Lamar." And I thought, ha ha ha, whatever. Like, yeah, right. Like, and my kid does not, my kid is like fair skinned, blondish brown hair. And I'm thinking, how are you going to go as Kendrick Lamar? But whatever. I thought he was joking. So he really went as Kendrick Lamar. Okay. So I find out later that that's what he did. And from that day on, he never got to play another soccer game that season. And I went to the now I went to the coaches. First I had him go to the coaches and say, why am I not playing anymore? Because he was the goalie. And nobody would answer, oh, we're doing whatever we're doing. Now, I think he got punished because he went as Kendrick Lamar. But okay, what was the whole point of this story? Oh, so yes. So one of the things I do as a parent is I always make sure that he's stepping up and advocating for himself because I don't want to be that parent that does all the advocating and then he never speaks. So he doesn't learn how to become the leader within himself. And so
Right.
in that instance, I had him go to the coaches. They said nothing. They're like, no, nothing. And then I eventually went to them and they told me same thing, which I thought I called BS is bullshit. But it was always very important for me, even if kids were bullying him at school, like you go have these conversations with people. If then something doesn't go on or something doesn't shift or change, then I'll step in. But again, because I do believe it's even as parents, we're trying to build and shape children's character, not drive it for them, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, and that's the hard part because I think athletics can be one of the best ways to do that,
Right.
but it's it's a different world though too.
It
And
is because I
and
wonder,
it's
like, I look at these coaches and they're like 30 years younger than you and I, right? And so even that's the mentality and the philosophy of where they may be coming from is very different than how you and I were raised,
yeah.
which there's a shift there too. So,
Well, and the thing is, if the only thing you remember from, your sports is how to throw, run, catch, whatever, it's kind of like my PE classes, then I have failed you. If you learn
mm,
to be a good teammate, show up on time, deal with adversity, stand up for yourself, help your teammate when they're down, be a good sport, shake their
right?
hands, all that stuff, then we've had a success, we've had a win.
Yeah.
But I think some of that's definitely not as important because people don't understand that and their values of that are different. But everybody
Hmm.
understands the scoreboard. Did you win or did you
Right. Did you
lose?
win or did you lose?
And then on the flip side, just because your team was 30-2 doesn't mean you're a great person. It means you're a pretty good player or whatever. So it's just really kind of weird. Like I always thought I have no idea if I was a good coach or teacher or not. Ask my students, ask my players, let them decide. And
Yeah.
but I know a lot of teachers that go, "Oh, I do a great job teaching them." It must be the students' fault they didn't understand it. But for me, that doesn't work that way.
No,
And that's the
no.
tricky part. Can you stand on your own and say, "Hey, this is the why of things. This
Right.
is why we did this. This is why, they passed, they failed, or whatever." And
Right.
so I think a lot of that is, gone missing and it's not a great thing, but it's just where we are right now.
Yeah. So looking back, what would you say some of your proudest moments are? So, oh, and I will say this, I mean, you have accomplishments that validate, justify, and show that you have done an incredible job. But looking back today, what would you say some of your proudest moments are?
Actually, this is kind of corny, but that I've I missed very few practices
Mm,
because you have twice as many practices as games. And
mm-hmm.
I to this day I remember I had the flu or something and I just couldn't make it to practice and the assistant had to take over. We never had assistant coaches in the old days. You were
Right.
there every day with your
Every
team. So
day.
it just me. So whether you didn't feel good or not, you couldn't get somebody to cover for you. And so showing up every day is probably, one of the things. Obviously there were times that We had a really, really good team in the early 90s, and just the fact that people talk about that to this day, and the crowd they had, we were literally sold out,
That's
and it was the
amazing.
it was the Vanilla Ice era.
Oh my God.
It's, and so we would run out to that song, the
Oh my
players would,
God.
and I could still see like the whole crowd would stand up as the players ran out. And
This is
it still
amazing,
gives me
right?
chills that, yeah,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
unbelievable. Just the buzz on campus and stuff like that. So it's just, those things. And then there was some, really great wins and stuff, but that was all because the players did it. My job was to prepare them and hopefully set them up for success, and then step out of the way and let them do their thing. That's the one. And then the other thing I always really enjoyed. So when I was done coaching here, my daughter was starting high school, and so my wife and I both we looked at it a little differently. We always thought that our kids needed us when they were a little older, when they were in the
Hmm.
high school era, not
Hmm.
necessarily, 0 to 5. You could make
Hmm.
argument either way. But then and she ended up being the head cheerleader too her senior year. So I know
Oh,
what you're
that's
talking
awesome.
about. It's interesting.
It's
And
gnarly when
so
you're competition cheer. Yeah.
yeah, but I
Hmm.
never got to see her halftime because so that was the year I went to help out at the high school she went to, and then we ended up being really good. And the funny thing is, a lot of the plays that we ran at Mission that, we weren't as successful because we didn't have the same type of players. They were great when I was at Castro Valley with the different type of players we had.
That's amazing.
So that was a fun era too. And then I didn't have to worry about stuff. I didn't have to do fundraising, I didn't have to talk to the parents. I didn't have to do any of that stuff. I showed up and did my deal and gave the head coach my 2 cents, and we were 30-2, and it ended up we were a lot smarter than we thought. So
So what do
it's
you
all
think
good
that
times.
is? That's a great awareness. What do you think it was that you take the same exact plays and you go to a totally different school and it just works, but at the school where you were doing it, like what is the difference in that?
Well, so you want better plays, you want better players. So it
Mm,
it comes to ultimately, and that's where player development is really taken off a lot. But there's
mm-hmm,
so many, fake player development guys. One of my good friends he was a high school coach, and we go back, 30, 40 years now, whatever it is.
mm-hmm,
And he and I started out the same and all that. And he liked the player development side. So long story short, he ended up, working in the NBA for two different franchises,
mm,
the Chicago Bulls, and then he was the Clippers, and he's now with the Pacers as a scout. But you know, it became player development was the number one thing.
mm-hmm,
Whereas when we both started out, it was coach your team and how good can your team be. And
mm-hmm.
so it's just the different paths, and it's all good. And it's just things change. You have to be able to adapt over time too.
Yeah, that's so amazing. Yeah, I don't know. I think about all that. We have I can't remember what high school it is. There's a high school here in Round Rock, Texas. Can't think of who they are. And it was probably 2 years ago, 3 years ago. My son was playing basketball for the school he was at, but we would take the boys to Friday night games of this high school, and it felt like we were watching NBA games. I mean,
Yeah.
I was so blown away by the level of all of these players. And it was the same thing. Like they'd come in with the music and the crowd goes wild and the stands are filled. And it is one of those games where it's just like back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And you're like sitting on the edge of your seat the entire time. And it was mind blowing. And it reminded me of the days being at Mission because I feel like our football and our basketball teams were that good back then. And it's just it's incredible, coming from a parent perspective, because that is where the character begins to be built. That's and it is a lot. I hate saying this, but it's a lot on you coaches. I think us parents put that on you sometimes. Where my son's at right now, Coach Hammock. one of the things he told us from the very beginning is I'm not here to make great players. I'm here to make great dads, great brothers, great fathers, great husbands. Like that's who I'm building right now. And I really got what he meant. He's like, it's all about the game, but it's not really all about the game. It's about who are we building as a character? And like who are these people going to be out in the world? And so it's nice to hear that because I think, to your point, times have really changed. Like, I don't know. I think there wasn't there a time where Mission didn't even have a football team? Like, times have really changed, and sports have changed, and directions have changed. And to me, it's, the organic understanding of sports and team is really building and shaping a character within.
Yeah, and I don't know who get to decide these things, so
Hmm.
what society member gets to be in charge of some of this stuff, but you can we
Is
could
it
go
the
off
government? I don't know. Is it Fox
we could
News? Is it MB?
we
Is it CNN? I don't know.
we could go off the rails here, but
Yeah,
maybe that'd be a different podcast, but
exactly.
it used to be like my parents' generation was we did things because it was the right thing to do. That was
Right.
it. And then my generation, it was we did things the right thing. Oh, wait a minute, you're going to pay me too? Oh, okay. Well,
Right.
this is
How
a
much are you going to pay me?
yeah, this you're getting $100. That's an extra bonus thing for me. Now I can do this for my family. And then the next generation, we kind of failed them in some ways because now well, I'm not doing that. What are you paying me? And that became the number one thing. It wasn't like you do somebody a solid or you did it because it was the right thing to do or you sucked it up and for the greater good. I ain't doing that. We
Right.
were out of town. We were in Vegas the other day and that Formula One is, through the streets there and the
Yes.
Uber driver goes, "Oh, I don't drive during this time. I don't make any money." And I get that, but I'm thinking, well, what about the poor schmoes like me that, need a
That need a
ride to the
ride.
airport?
Yeah.
Now we're out of luck. It's not for the greater good. I mean, I understand it, but there and maybe I'm naive too, but there just isn't that same thing. It's not that hard. It's not that
Right.
hard to say hello, goodbye, yes, no, please, thank you. And I don't know, but I'll find out. But people can't communicate, and you can, wish somebody a good morning, and you can open the door for somebody at Starbucks, and you can pay it forward, and it just doesn't happen that way anymore.
Yeah. It's you said it beautifully. And it's sad when you look, I shouldn't say it's sad. It just is what it is. It is what we've evolved to. And it's a level of awareness that we need to be reminded is what, are we evolving in the right direction? Or could we bring back some of those old traditional foundational ways of being? Because yes, we very much have gotten to this place of like, well, you ain't paying me, I ain't doing it, or I ain't doing it
Yep.
for that price. And, I think there's two sides of that because obviously inflation is through the roof, but people's income have not matched that. So there's this
Yep.
thing that begins to tip, right? And so we can say, yeah, who is the person in charge of this shift in mindset and culture? But, let's pull our power back. We actually are in charge if we can be aware that it's happening, right? And
Right.
then we can go back and start to change those ways. But yeah, it is a different time for sure.
Well, and the tricky thing is, I mean, I was very lucky in that, my wife was always very supportive of
Mm-hmm.
all my endeavors,
Mm-hmm.
and we there was a lot of moving parts, and my two kids were kind of raised in the gym, and I wouldn't do it any other way, but there were sacrifices. I spent more time with other people's kids than my own as they're growing up, and
Right.
people don't want to do that same sacrifice.
Right.
I always thought it was a benefit and a byproduct, because this is really dumb, but one of my favorite things was when I'd run my camp in the summer,
Mm-hmm.
was when my kids and I would go and buy the food for the snack bar. And what kind of treats could we get? And look, the Skittles are on sale here. Let's do this, and we could charge this amount. And it was just kind of a fun bonding thing, one of my favorites. But like I'd be down here at school for 12, 14 hours and my wife would pick the kids up and they would eat nachos for dinner.
Right,
What a hot dog,
right.
and because we were here in the gym and I had to be the last one to go and it just changed over time. It's not right or wrong, it's just what it is.
Just what it
And
is
yeah, and
and what we learn along the way.
you can't just, oh, I wish it was that way still, because we're not going back anymore. Some of the things is,
No.
but I think I don't want to say society's got really low self-esteem, but I think that if we could change something, it would be let's just respect our fellow human being a little bit more than we do, instead of trying to have superiority over our fellow man,
I
woman.
actually, yeah, I like how you say it that we have low self-esteem as a culture. I can see that. And that's I think that's a very interesting statement because we have become this place where we have it like we don't have the power or we don't have the right. We don't have the power or the right to say no to the government or to whoever's rolling out the new agenda of whatever that agenda may be. Um, and it'd be interesting and I think what's happening, what we're watching globally is that we are gaining our backbones and we are starting to stand up and say no. And that's going to take some time to reverse and repair, thousands of years of damage that has been slowly molded into our psyche, right?
But
Um,
again, this generation hasn't been taught to think and make decisions. I
No, and
mean,
it's not
growing
going to get
up,
any better. It's not going to get any better
well,
with AI. That almost takes a lot of thinking out of it too. So it's like you have
correct.
to find that balance because there's a beauty in AI, but there's also the downside of AI. And it
Yeah.
is exactly that where you're starting to take more and more of that creative thought process away from people.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And social media has some benefits. I mean, that's how, I'm able to reconnect with you and other
Yes.
alums.
Yes. Alums.
And
Yeah.
it does have some benefits, but it also there's a lot of downfall too. It's kind of like,
Yes.
well, I only got, 37 likes on this thing and
Yes.
so and so got
Yep.
52 and
Yeah.
you know, we
100%.
just we just have to, that stuff's poison and you just can't be around it. But it's really tricky because, kids are growing up, how my kids were raised are different than how your kid is being raised.
So
And it's not,
different.
it's not that I'm better than you or you're
No.
doing right or wrong. It's,
It's just a different time. It
yeah,
is tough. I mean, the things that the ways we were raised, it would not work on my kid at all,
yeah.
because the kids are coming out differently. They are coming out differently. So,
Well,
but
I mean, why can I give my, if my grandkids were 5 or 6 years old, which they're not, 5 or 6 months old,
yeah,
I can give them my cell phone and go, "Hey, can you fix?" They would do all these things. Whereas,
yes,
my
no,
generation, or maybe just me,
no,
it's like
no,
I don't know.
right?
They're just wired different,
They are
and
wired differently. They are coming out differently. So I know we're running out of time, and before we wrap up, I do want to talk about how we got together. And I would love for you to share because I think it's so beautiful what you're doing. The how the interviews that you're doing with former alums and sharing it with your students. Talk about that project and where did that really stem from and what were you hoping to achieve with that? Because I think it's
well,
really cool.
I have a big ego also, despite all these things I tell you or whatnot. So when the world got shut down for COVID in March of 2020, that's
Mhm.
the winding down of the school year, and it was weird. I mean, we'd never been there and all that stuff,
Yeah.
so we just kind of rode out that school year, and it's kind of like, well, in the fall we're going to be back, right? We're going to be back, and we never came back. So we had to do remote learning. So I didn't want to mail it in. I think, I got to give my employer my money's worth, because we were lucky to get checks as
Hmm.
public school teachers.
Right,
If
right.
there could have been an argument made that you
Yep.
don't
We don't need
deserve it,
you. Yep.
whatever. So I'm thinking, oh, I got to create content. And I didn't want to just play YouTube videos. So my niece, my favorite niece in Texas was not a great PE student. She was an ex-cheerleader and she didn't like PE. And she ended up over time running half marathons and
Oh.
marathons. Like, so I did a Zoom with her and
Hmm.
like, I'm thinking, okay, you hated PE, but now you're doing this. So how did that happen? So I did a Zoom with her and I told my class, we would do all the regular stuff for Zoom. Push-ups, sit-ups, a mile run. Did they do it? I have no idea. I was I was a radio I was a radio talk show host and I didn't know what they were doing in their car on the way to work, but I kept talking away.
Right.
So I did a Zoom with my niece and I showed it to them and I go, okay, give me a quick synopsis of what you, and they loved it. It was the weirdest thing. It's like, oh, okay, I'm just talking to Jill. It's okay. So I did one for every week of the school year, and
Amazing.
I had like 30 plus guests, and they loved it. And some were mission people, some were people, and that have a name and ex NBA players, and all these people I've known through time. And some were connections I got with. So then I stopped doing that, and then, oh, again over time it was I need to restart this because our students need to learn. They're so naive in some ways. They need to see what the real world was like. My father was a history teacher, so I've always kind of loved the history of things. And so, we started the Mission San Jose Hall of Fame here and all that. And I wanted them to know what was it like when we had a football team. The stress at the school for the students is unbearable.
Mm,
What was the difference? So I restarted these and I put them in my Google Classroom, and it's a way for the students to make up a missed PE day,
that's
you
amazing.
know,
Yep.
because if they were out for a week, the way it was structured, it was okay, you don't have 5 weeks. You missed a week. You don't have
Right.
5 weeks to make this up. So it's
Right.
kind of unfair to the students. And I was trying to, put them in a position of success. So I restarted it. And again, they really enjoyed it. And,
That's
having people
amazing.
like you and some of your um, um, fellow alums or classmates
Students.
along the
Yep.
way
Yep.
because I wanted to get people from, I don't want to say the 80s, but from every era of mission, because this is a really good school, a really good high school, and the students here have always had a connection. And so
Yeah.
I thought you would be very good, and you were not because I said so, but because the students said so.
Yeah, that was so cool. It was so moving, and such a great idea. And for those listening, basically what he does is he'll do interviews with people, and then the students have to write. Once they watch it, they then have to write a paper on what they got out of it. And yeah, I just thought that was really brilliant and very special because it exposes them to the real world, especially those of us that, yeah, we've been out of high school almost 40 years now, which is insane. But yeah, it's I think 38 for me. But yeah, it's interesting and I think it's fantastic. I think it's a
Uh,
great
it,
idea.
It's been really fun, and maybe that'll lead in my retirement podcast. Maybe you'll have some competition. I don't know,
Right?
but you know, at the end of the day, this whole thing is a people business. It's a
Yes.
people profession or people world, and so the more you can grow your people community, the more opportunities you have. My wife was one of the hardest working people I've known, and she always got jobs because of somebody she knew and that she
Hmm.
did a good job with. And I worry
Hmm.
about that with the AI, that it's just, well, what does your resume look like, not who you know. And that
Yeah.
I don't, and then my current thing for the students is, hey, there's 45 of you in this class and I have two job openings. Which one of you am I going to hire? And I just tell them
Mm-hmm.
that. And they kind
Hmm.
of start looking around like, as ninth and 10th graders. And it's, oh, wait a minute, AI took one of the jobs away. So I can only hire one of you. Who gets the
Yes.
job and why?
Yeah.
And I just try and plant that seed because the last thing, because otherwise I'll go for another hour on you, is we got to be where our feet are. The problem is that when you're in elementary school, why are you playing these games? Well, so I can make it to high school. And then when we're in high school, they don't care about high school. It's, oh, I want to get to college. What college am I going to get into? And then when they're in college, they don't always enjoy it. It's, well, I want to get my job. And then when they're in a job, you're chasing retirement. And then when you're in retirement, you're chasing, well, heck, I don't want to be, be in the grave next. So I got to do all these other things. So just be
Right?
where your feet are and just enjoy and max
Right.
out the time that you're in. And if you can do
Yes.
that, that's the best win you can get.
I love that because it is so true. Like being in your present moment. I'm always telling my son because, there's this rush to get older. And it's like, and I always remind him, be 14. Just be 14. You don't need to be 18. You'll be 18 at some point because I promise you, once you hit 18, you're gonna be wishing you were still 14.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
because that's when the real world shows up and you got to work and then bills come and da 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 all the way down. And it's like, yeah, take advantage of that present moment because it won't come back. It's it. This is all we have, you know?
Well, and the other thing I tried to tell my players at the time was, when you're out of here, there's nobody, you're not walking into work with music playing and people, your coworkers standing to clap and cheer for you.
No.
After high school, that ain't happening.
Yeah.
So, we kind of do them a disservice in some ways, in that this is not how the real world works. And we go overboard with grat fake gratuities to them. Here, go get a hot dog. That'll make you feel better.
Right.
And so it's really tricky to get the young people or the kids to figure out, I'm doing this for this reason. This is the why of things, and this is where I want to go, and this is why I'm doing it. Like basketball, everything I've got great out of in my life was because of basketball and because of
Mm-hmm.
athletics. And I
Mm-hmm.
sometimes worry like, oh man, if I didn't like sports, I don't know what I would have been doing. And you know, thank goodness my son and I, he loves sports too. And what are we going to talk about now? Oh, we can talk about, there's always a game on now. So it's been really great for me, and I'm very appreciative of it, and I'm glad that you and I were able to connect, and
Yeah,
um,
I want to say thank you. I'm so honored, honestly, to have been reconnected with you, to have you here on the show, to have you share all that you've shared today. I hope the listeners have heard aspects for themselves or for their kids, because I really do see life as we are on the court and it's a game. And it's really all about who are you going to be in the moment. You got to think fast. You got to be able to be flexible. You need to stay in the present moment and you need to be fully aware at all times of what's happening all around you. And and really at the core, I believe it is about shaping that character within. And a lot of what I talk about on this show is life is happening for you, not to you. And when you're on the court of life, or if you're on a baseball game or basketball game, it's happening for you. The ball is coming to you. So don't step out of the way. Like you better catch it. And I see kids do that too. Like they're like afraid once the ball starts coming and it's like, catch it, and they're like,
yeah.
oh God, no, not me. Or I always see the funny thing is, I see a lot is kids get the ball, they're right under the hoop, and they're so terrified to shoot that they throw it to somebody else. And it's like, what just shoot it, Like that's such a metaphor for life.
but
The
but you
fear.
can't think, for them. And
No.
I'm a big John Wooden guy, and I don't know how many of the
Yes, I love John Wooden. Yes.
I spent an afternoon with him in his home, and
Oh, but that was amazing.
it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And he was in his 90s at the time, but he was really sharp. And his thing is preparation is the key to success. So the
Yeah.
reason the kid didn't shoot the ball is because they were poorly positioned. They were probably under the rim or they weren't ready. And again, that's all that things for life. Like if I'm going on a trip and I'm not ready, I'm not going to get where I want to go. I have to pack.
Yes.
I got to buy a ticket. I got to do this, fill up the car, yeah, whatever you're doing. And
Yep.
so, it's all analogies for success. And, I could go on and on and on
I
and
know.
on.
I'm like, okay, but
And
now I want to ask you, how do you get them ready? Like, how am
but
I
but some people think, oh, this guy's blabbered on on too much. But if you could pick out one or two things, along the way that
Yeah.
you've learned, then that's a big win. You know, it's not going to be we yeah, we can go on and on, but we won't.
Yeah.
So
No, I just am so grateful to have you and thank you for being on the show today. And is there is there, okay, is there a way that people could get in touch with you if they wanted to talk to you about anything, whether it's mentorship, basketball, their kids, whatever,
Oh,
coaching?
that's a great question. I guess see, I guess my brand, I haven't worked on my brand enough, and
Yeah. Coach
I
Pete Vaz, Mission San Jose
yeah.
High School.
Well, one of the things I want to do when I do retire is write a book, but we'll see. Maybe that'll happen. But I mean, email, they can contact you, you can go
Yeah.
contact me. Yeah, I
Yeah.
should figure something out generically
Yeah.
because I do think the stuff is interesting, the different philosophies and all that stuff. And so I'd be more than happy to talk to anybody, but
Yeah. And then anybody who's interested, you always reach out to me in the comments and I can put you two together. But he's at Mission San Jose High School. That's in Fremont,
yeah,
California. But yeah.
yeah.
Well, I just want to say thank you. You're the
No,
best.
thank you. This is
Yeah.
great what you're doing, and
Such
the
a
things that you've
pleasure.
done is are unbelievable. And so it's
Thank
more than
you.
kind of you to have me involved in your life, and so I know your son is being well raised,
Oh, thank
and
you. Thank
you're
you.
you're doing pretty good too, from what I know. So
Yes, thank
we
you.
appreciate it.
As I sit here reflecting on this conversation, I'm reminded that what we learn in the game of basketball and in the game of life is that every challenge, every win, every season is shaping us for something greater. And maybe this conversation reminded you of someone who shaped who you are, maybe a teacher, a coach, or a mentor. If so, reach out, say thank you to that person if you can, because those moments, they are what root us and they are what help us rise. So, thank you all to listening to this awesome episode with Coach Pete Vaz. I look forward to seeing you on the next episode. We are going to be sitting with a beautiful soul by the name of Sophia Cecilia, who will be talking to us about the alchemy of wine. I'm so excited because it's going to be a beautiful episode, especially for the coming holidays, and is going to just be nice and warming to the tummy and warming to the soul so that you can go out and buy some incredible wines. But we're really going to talk about the spirit of the root and the wines and all of those things that go into cultivating a beautiful bottle of wine. And you'll see how it kind of comes together and rooted in rising. But I look forward to seeing you all on the next episode. Have a beautiful and blessed day. Happy holidays, and we'll see you soon. Thank you for rooting in and rising with me today. If something in this episode stirred something in you, take a breath, take what you need, and let the rest soften. Be sure to follow the show so you don't miss what's next. And if you feel called, share this episode or leave a review. It helps the space grow and reach others on the path. Until next time, may you walk with trust, speak with love, and rise in your own time. I'm so grateful you were here with us, and thanks for being here. We'll see you on the next episode.